The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt, so get ready, nerds, because we're talking Netflix's Shadow and Bone Season 1. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Shadow and Bone Season 1, and I'm joined by my fantastic panel of nerds. Tom is here. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, welcome. Welcome, Tom.
Vader tag teamed you out of this one, huh?
Yeah, I watched the whole show, and Vader did not watch this show. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way.
He got 3 episodes in and was like, you guys are on your own.
A couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, Tom, have you watched this show yet? And he was like, no, why? Should I? I was like, yes, you should.
Yes, you should.
And then I watched one episode, and I said, the first episode was a little okay. And she goes, oh, honey, you have to watch the whole thing. And I said,
yeah.
He was like, how many episodes do I have to watch for Tuesday? I was like, all of them.
Okay. All right.
All right. Also, Jude, welcome.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Did you like the show?
Yes.
Okay. And Matthew Kadish, producer of the show. Welcome.
Okay, well, I know
Just
that.
say hello.
Hello. I know that we've been getting a lot of requests to review this season. So,
Interesting.
despite Vader's poopy pantsness, we actually sat down and watched this whole thing, and we're going to be talking about it today.
Yeah, actually, because of you guys, our subscribers on YouTube, you commented when we reacted to the trailer for this that you love this show, or you love the books, and you really look forward to the show. So we're like, you know what, we should take that feedback.
Give the people what they want.
Take that feedback from our fans and give them what they want. So
I don't know if this is going to be what you want.
Well, we are called the Salty Nerd Podcast, so we're going to be a little salty. But it's no big deal. Before we dive super deep into this season, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com. There you can find our Patreon page, and you can get exclusive access to all kinds of really cool stuff, behind-the-scenes photos, direct contact with the host, exclusive podcasts, behind the blooper reels, which are hilarious. Things that we can't put out there on the YouTube or we'll get taken down.
They're hilarious if we do say so ourselves.
Yeah.
We're very funny.
We're usually drunk when we do it. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, saltynerdclub.com. Help support the podcast. You can give us whatever tier that you may pick, whichever one you are suited to, and it gets cool stuff in return. All right, let's get into it. Who's got the synopsis? Kadish, take it away, buddy. What do you got for us?
You always do for shows.
For TV shows?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got the episode by episode breakdown. Do you want to give everyone kind of an overview of what the show's about?
No.
Alex, you?
I can. I read the book and I watched the first season.
You read the book. Oh,
I did,
awesome. Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know if you had finished it.
I did. Yep, I did. I finished it just in time for this podcast like 2 days ago. Anyway, okay, so basically the basic layout of this science fiction steampunky era that we're going to be watching here. We have a group of people called Grisha, which are superpowered human beings, similar to X-Men, but they don't quite have the variety.
It's more like The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where like you have
earth, fire, wind.
They're basically sorcerers that can control the elements like fire, wind, heart.
Yeah.
Heart renders.
They're elementals. Yeah.
Heart renders are freaking badass.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of ones. I want to know their names. I didn't get all these.
Well, there's
the guys in the red,
tailors. Yeah.
The guys in the red.
Those are the Infernos.
They're like choking people. Like,
those are the heart renders.
Yes.
Yeah. They can literally stop your blood flow while you're like mid-sentence. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these superpowered sorcerers, and they all kind of have very specific powers. And there's one character called the Darkling, who it's kind of a surprise in this season or in the book that like he is who he is. But in ancient times, back in the day, this sorcerer caused this rift. In ancient times, back in the day. This sorcerer caused this rift across. It's like a shadow land. They call it the Fold, and it's just like this world of shadow.
It's an actual manifestation of darkness.
Yeah,
it's basically like the Wall from Game of Thrones, but darkness,
but full of demons.
Full of demons. Yeah, because you go into the Fold, and it's just like filled with these horrific.
Instead of wildlings, it's demons.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Except, well, wildlings are cuter. Ingrid was cute. You know,
one of them was cute.
Hey, man. What's the dude's name?
Tormund.
He was a cute guy.
Cute. That's a handsome man.
It's a handsome man with a great red beard.
He's a hunk of ginger.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Anyway, so we kind of catch up with these characters. The main character is Anita and her friend Mal. They grew up together as orphans. They didn't know their family. They were kind of just growing up together, and they became very close. Mal joined what would be called the Second Army, I believe.
First Army.
Is it
No,
the first?
it's the second.
First army is the Grisha. They're
I thought the
superpower.
second army was the Grisha.
No, I think it's the opposite.
I'm gonna Google that.
You Google it.
I'm gonna Google that.
Let me know. And then Anita, because she kind of was worried when she was a child that she would become a Grisha. She didn't. There's like a test that kids do when they're
She
growing
didn't want to
up.
be separated from Mal.
They didn't want to be separated, so she hid the fact that she may or may not be Grisha. She didn't
just
know.
never took the test.
She never took the test. She avoided it. And she grows up. She becomes a cartographer along with Mal in the second army or first army, whichever one Tom comes up with here in a minute. And it's revealed later on that she is in fact one of, if not the only, sun summoner, which is a person who can control light and heat. And this is a very special power because it's been kind of like, what is it?
First army non-Grisha.
Damn it.
Oh.
First army. And so that's kind of the story basically in this first season is we kind of get to see her path when she realizes that she is a sun summoner and she gets kind of taken under the wing of the Darkling or the general in this show. And events progress to the point where she has to break away from the Darkling who has nefarious intentions.
Yeah.
And
she starts off
But
like
he's so handsome. How could he be bad?
I know, right?
As soon as I saw him, I was like, that dude's bad.
Oh yeah. He
So
looks like the devil.
she starts off being like she's in the army and she's a cartographer and she has her career and stuff, but like everyone shits on her because of what she looks like.
Yeah.
I forget what they call her all the time. Shoe. They're like, a shoe doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
So everybody shits all over her until they discover her power, and now all of a sudden she's like royalty. So she goes from being like at the bottom of the barrel to the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
And this show it's based off of a trilogy. It's called the Grisha Trilogy, but it's also been combined with another book series in this universe called the Six of Crows duology. So there are 2 books in this series by an Israeli-American author named Lee Bardugo. And this is collectively known as the Grisha verse. And she describes it not as steampunk, but as Tsar punk. So like the Russian Tsars.
Oh, okay.
Oh, neat.
So
okay.
Because like the world in which this takes place is based very much off of like, the early Russian, Tsarist history and, Rasputin.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the uniforms, the palaces. Yeah, very Russian.
Yeah.
I get
Russian.
that now.
And in the show, you get senses of like modern like communist propaganda and stuff like that. And,
Okay.
And this kind of Tsarist fantasy land, which is cut off by the fold from the sea, and then you have like the
West
nations.
Ravka
So Ravka
is the country which this takes place in.
Yeah, and there's this island nation called Ketterdam, which is based off of Amsterdam, and this is where the Crow story kind of like takes place. So like you have a couple different storylines going throughout the series that are taken from the books, kind of meshed together to make one cohesive TV show.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, so run us through a quick synopsis of that first episode, and we'll talk about it, if you don't mind, sir.
So episode 1 is called A Searing Burst of Light. And unwilling to be separated from Mal, Alina hatches a plan to join him on a perilous expedition through the fold, and Kaz chases a lead on a lucrative job. So Kaz is like the kind of like a fledgling crime boss in Ketterdam, and he's got like his own little like misfit crew, and they get a lead on this wealthy merchant who's going to be offering like $1 million bounty for a certain type of job. And so they're trying to figure out what the job is, and they're trying to lock down that $1 million bounty because that's a huge amount of money for them.
It's life-changing for him.
Yeah. And on the other side of the fold, we get Alina's story where she basically she's in love with Mal, even though like he's kind of like, she's my little sister. And he gets deployed to go through the fold, which is super dangerous. And so in order to kind of go along with him, she sabotages some of the maps. And so they have to send a cartographer along with Mal's unit.
Which happens to be her profession.
Yeah, but it, instead of just her going, which was her original plan, they're sending her entire unit. So she basically endangered the lives of everyone.
She's like,
that
my
she
bad,
works
you
with.
guys.
Yeah.
I just want to be with my pal.
Yeah, and while they're going through the fold, these the demons within the fold, which are called Volcra.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like an offshoot of Valkyrie, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the Volcra attack, And basically they start killing everyone on the ship, and Mal gets like super messed up by one of these things. So Alina just naturally, like, her powers manifest in response to saving Mal, and creates this huge burst of light, kills all the Volcra that are attacking, and basically pushes the ship that they were on, because the part that's kind of covered by the fold is called the Unsea. So it's kind of like the sea, but it's not quite. It's on land. It's weird. But they push this land ship back out to on the side where it came from. But some of the survivors come out on the other side because somehow they made their way through. And that's how the people in Ketterdam find out about the Sun
Summoner. Yeah. So this, as an introduction to the characters, I thought was a pretty decent episode. I enjoyed kind of getting to know Alina and Mal. They had a nice chemistry for the actors and for the characters themselves. And in comparison to the book, it was pretty much right in line. All the events kind of take place in the same way. The biggest difference for me, and I'm assuming that these characters, like the smuggler and his little group of ragtag criminals, comes from another set of books that I haven't read yet, because they're not anywhere in this first book.
It's the Six of Crows duology.
Okay, yeah. So they kind of mesh these things. I haven't read those books yet, so these characters were not in the first.
In the Six of Crows books, basically those cover
Kaz?
Yeah, Kaz, and what's the Heartrenderer's name? The one that
the one that gets taken by like the Viking guy.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name either.
Oh, I liked her. I forgot her name too.
Starts with an E.
God, we're terrible at this.
Their names are all so strange. It's really hard to keep track, honestly.
Well, there's a lot of characters in the show.
There's a lot of characters.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
See, so I'll just get this started. In the book itself, the book focuses, the one that I read, focuses solely on Alina.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just her story. So if you kind of take her story out of this TV show, it's maybe like an episode and a half, 2 episodes tops worth of storytelling, but they stretch it out over the course of the season, and they mix in a lot of other elements from different books.
In the Six of Crows books, they don't really cross paths with Alina. What they're looking to, it's basically the same story as this, but instead of going after her, in the book, they go after like a scientist that has created like a drug that amplifies Grisha powers.
Oh, okay.
So,
Cool.
So they basically just combine these 2 book stories and, turn it into the season of the movie.
Yeah. So for the TV show, I actually kind of attached myself more to that guy's crew.
Yeah.
Kaz?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
They were way more interesting to watch.
They were fun.
Yeah.
They were scrappy.
Yeah.
I
They
loved
had
Kaz.
the gunslinger.
The gunslinger was cool.
Yeah.
The freaking
Yes.
Jasper.
Jasper,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jasper.
And Inej with the knives.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She's a badass.
And Kaz is trying to buy her out of her servitude
Yep,
or whatever.
yep.
So he's very invested in getting this bounty so that he can get her out of this.
Yeah. He even put his
What is she in, like a brothel or something?
Yeah, something
It
like
was
that.
a pleasure house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
She
thing.
was a performer, acrobat, all
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically like a freaking ninja. She's
Oh,
such
yeah.
a badass.
She
She's
is.
invisible. She can jump off stuff.
But she vows never to kill.
She's so cool.
She
Oh,
has
she's cool.
layers.
She's like Batman.
She's hot. I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was a
she
big
is
fan.
Lady
very,
Batman.
very religious.
It's funny
Yes,
that like
very pious. I like that word better.
Papayas.
Papayas.
I think it's funny though. Like like sounds like we all kind of agree that those are the more interesting
They
characters
really
They're the
were.
of the
best
show.
part. Yeah.
Alina, who is the main character of the show, I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
it's it is what it is.
She-
it's
she's
okay.
She's forgettable.
Yeah, she
She's
kind of is.
forgettable.
Did you like the book? Were you invested in it?
The book is very young adult, so I kind of had a hard time with that. And
Okay.
there's actually something interesting that I want to talk to you about, and I'm not sure if Kadish in his research has come across this, but in the book there's no sign of racism in this world.
Oh, there's no like, we hate you because you're a shoe?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, there is
okay.
none of that.
Yeah, I think they created that because they cast the actress and she's,
Well,
ethnic.
yeah,
And so like they just wrote that into the story.
Huh.
in the book, the Shu is basically like an Asian culture, and she's
Yes.
half Shu. But that's never brought up as a bad thing. Like the Shu in the books is kind of like well regarded. In fact, one of the trainers at the palace was Shu, and everybody was like, "Oh, like yes sir, no sir." It was
Mhm.
like a respected position. There was no racism. What I think they did is in the books, she's very much preoccupied with physical beauty. She
Okay.
constantly talks about how much prettier everybody is and how much richer everybody is. There's a classism for sure.
Mhm.
Like classism is the biggest thing in that book, where like she comes from a lower class. So as she's moving her ranks up in the Grisha that have been raised in the palace kind of look down on her like, oh, you're just like a poor commoner. Like that's kind of where that thing is.
Yeah,
And
I think the shoe in the show is meant to be like Mongolian.
yeah.
Like that. That's the allegory there.
Yeah. So like in the show, they kind of replaced that classism. There's a little bit of that in this too, but they kind of like amplified it with the racism on top of that. So
Yeah,
Huh,
and
okay.
there was also the whole like thing about Grisha being like hunted and mistrusted and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
yeah, that in the history of the world. Yeah. So it's a very interesting change. I'm not sure. I wouldn't blame the show for it, but I felt like it was a bit of an unnecessary change. I think there was enough in there to work with that you could still have that same vibe where she's coming up from lower class to upper class without including like, oh, you're Shu, you half breed. Like you didn't really need that.
Yeah, that annoys me that was put in just for the show now that you say that.
Yeah.
They could have just called her poor the whole time.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
could have just said like, "Oh, you're low class, you're poor, you're common," or something like that. It would have gotten across the same message, but they added the racism thing on top. And I think that might have been like a Netflix thing, like
As I
checking
was
the
watching
box.
this, I wasn't understanding why everybody was doing that, and now that you say that wasn't in the book, now I'm annoyed with it.
Yeah, that's kind of. I was like, I wonder how many people. I wonder if real book fans, because I'm like brand new to this. I'm not. I can't call myself a fan yet.
How they feel about
How
it.
they feel about that change.
Yeah. And I wonder if Jasper was gay in the books.
Yeah, I'd have to go read it. I will read Six of Crows because apparently those
Those are the better
those
characters.
are the better characters.
Yeah.
I like Jasper.
Yeah, Jasper was cool.
He shot the freaking coin.
Yeah.
He
He's
was
a
like, he was
badass.
just-
And he's funny and
He's
cool.
charming, cool.
The entire season.
He's a total
That
degenerate.
whole crew had awesome chemistry.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Oh,
charismatic.
they were fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, every time like the story spent time on them, I was super into it. But then every time it spent time on like honestly everything else, I was like, this isn't. I wouldn't say it was bad, and I
No.
wouldn't say I didn't like it, but it was just like not as good as the other
Yeah.
aspect to this.
Yeah, there was a whole like Ocean's 11 aspect with
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kaz
Yes.
and his team.
They were a crew on a heist, and the other crew was like this girl who was torn between her rich boyfriend and
her poor
and her poor boyfriend. But the poor boyfriend was way nicer, but the
Yeah.
rich boyfriend was really rich.
Kind of a dick.
Yeah.
and like she was
like, do you want a bad boy or a good boy?
Yeah.
But the good boy was really bad boy. He was the bad boy. He was a street fighter. and
Yeah.
all the girls liked him,
Uh-huh.
but he didn't like none of them.
No.
Even the hot sorceress trick to try to trick him. He was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat my grapes with my friend. And she goes, oh, I'm gonna take my top off. And it's like, still no. Like, good for you, bro.
Good for you.
Good for you, bro.
Mal.
Yeah. What a hero.
Because friendship.
Yeah.
Hey, friendship runs deep.
All right. So now that we got introduced to the characters, what does episode 2 have in store for us there, Katie?
All right, so episode 2 is called We're All Someone's Monster. And Alina's actions against the Volcra bring her to the attention of General Cregan. And Kaz runs into trouble while looking for safe passage across the fold.
Is it Cregan? I thought it was Kerrigan.
It's Cregan. I think he said Cregan in the show, right?
Kerrigan, Cregan, who cares? It's all the same.
How dare you?
How dare you, sir?
The Darkling.
The Kurgan?
Yeah. The Darkling.
The Kurgan? Was that from Highlander?
I don't know.
The Kurgan? That was the bad guy's name. The Kurgan.
Was it?
Yeah.
Jude's never seen Highlander.
Well, they're rebooting it.
Ugh. Why'd you guys say that?
But John
Anyway.
Cena
Oh,
in
that's
charge.
the. Yeah, sorry.
The TV show.
Yeah, John Cena in there.
I honestly don't remember what happened in this episode.
No, me
Okay,
neither.
so
The whole middle's
the-
kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
The like wildling guys who hate Grisha, they
the
attack
kidnapping.
Alina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
They try to kidnap her.
The witch hunter
and then
guys.
Cregan shows up and creates like his dark
Oh,
blade and
yes.
cuts him in half.
Yeah.
The darkness.
Yeah, the darkness.
Darkness. The darkness.
I did find it kind of cool, like when the Grisha are actually in battle using their powers.
Yeah, they're
it's pretty.
cool.
It's cool
Yeah.
as hell. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that,
Mhm.
and I think that's why maybe I was a little bit less interested in Alina's storyline because I was expecting them to go down that road of like magical wizards using their powers, and it's very minimalist.
How I feel about the show in general is I love the universe. I love the world. It's impressive.
Yes.
The story I don't really care so much about.
Yeah.
But the world, I want to see what's happening. I want to hear about the history. All the Grisha are connected
Mhm.
in some way. I want to know more, but I don't really care about the main character. Does that
yeah,
make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Alina
She
is.
could die, and I'd be like, oh, that's okay. They'll figure it out.
Alina is like, she's supposed to be the surrogate for the audience because she's kind of new to this whole world and we're supposed to be watching
Yeah,
it through
she's-
her eyes.
yeah.
But as a character herself, I think you've talked about this before. When characters in shows or movies don't actually do anything to move the plot forward.
When they're passive.
She's a very passive main character.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't like stuff happens to her, whereas she doesn't cause stuff to happen. So like in for instance, in this episode, when Kerrigan meets her for the first time and he tests her and like, you know, it's revealed that she's a sun summoner. And then like, you know, he puts her on a carriage and sends her off. And then like her carriage gets hijacked and, you know, she's about to be killed and he just shows up and saves her and whisks her away. It's like she literally does nothing the entire episode. And, you know, kind of contrast that with...
She was really upset she couldn't say goodbye to her boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, contrast that with Kaz's story. And Kaz is actively trying to figure out how do we get across the fold without dying. And he's got all this stuff
He's a
going
mover
on.
and a shaker.
Yeah.
He's making things happen.
And
he's making deals.
So like he's an active character.
Yeah.
And contrast that with Alina, who's just kind of going along as the plot dictates.
That makes sense.
And that's why you have like the cool characters in their storyline versus the boring characters in their storyline.
That makes 100% sense.
Well, Jasper does stumble several times over the course of the 8 episodes and is always successful.
I don't know what episode it's in, but I have
like
to talk
6,
about
I
it.
think.
When they give him the money and they're like, "Don't gamble,"
Oh,
and he walks out the door. Literally 3 minutes later, he's like, "What's up, guys? I'm gonna go gamble."
Yeah. So in this
I got
episode,
16 pounds of coal.
in this episode, we're kind of introduced to Kaz's rival, who's like a rival gang boss. I forget his name. He has like a weird name.
But an epic beard, though, right?
He's
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
scarier. Yeah, he's way scarier.
Yeah, like he's like a legit
That's cool.
crime boss. And basically, we're introduced to this guy. I think his name's the Conductor.
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who basically smuggles people through the fold because he's got a real badass like train system set up. I don't know how it quite
I don't
works.
understand the travel system in
There's
this whole show.
2 sets of tracks and rolling pins in the middle. And
Yeah.
as long as you line it up, you're good.
You're good.
Well, I mean, like the real question here to me is, okay, so they use these land ships that are basically like ocean ships.
Yeah, why
but
does it
they're
look like
on
a
the
boat?
land.
It's got wheels.
It looks like a boat, but it goes through like the sand.
Yeah, it's got wheels on it.
Yeah,
has
but
wheels?
it's also wind powered, which is weird.
Well, you use the wind to push they don't have an engine. It makes
Okay.
sense.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean,
I mean, not really.
who knows what kind of wind goes through the fold?
The wizard. There's a wizard blowing it.
Oh yeah, that one of the airbenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my
But-
God, the whole show makes sense now.
But when,
You're
when
welcome.
it comes to the Conductor, someone had to lay those tracks.
Yeah.
I think what he
Yeah.
said was there was a track being built during the time when the fold was created, and it got it was not finished,
It was like,
it
Medium
was-
America. The 2 tracks
Yeah.
are coming together.
And it just stopped.
Stopped. Yeah.
and they basically kind of what is that game? Hopscotch across
Yeah.
on the leftover tracks.
On some, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. But
Okay.
he's a very interesting character. But again, going back to these characters that we like Jasper and what's the main dude's name?
Kaz.
and the
Inej.
ninja. Freaking that whole
they're
whole
awesome.
setup. They were like, we're gonna get across the fold with this. We're using this dude. We blackmailed him a little bit, kind of persuaded him to help us out and all this stuff. And then this is one of my favorite moments in the entire show is the goat.
The emotional support.
The emotional support goat
What do we need the goat for? For you.
for you.
You look like a pussy. So I got you a baby goat. Do your yoga. Do your yoga.
I died laughing when he said that.
And the goat keeps coming back.
Yeah, the goat keeps. It's like a running joke.
Dude, the goat saves the day.
But my favorite moment in that episode was when Jasper is like terrified. The freaking thing's ripping through the ceiling.
That's the next episode.
Oh, is that the next episode?
That's not this
I'm sorry.
episode.
Okay, we'll get there in a second. Then.
Kate
Oh,
is just cock
I
blocked
know.
your
You just
fun.
freaking God. I got blue balls now, man.
Oh, there's so much I want to talk about, but it's at all at the end.
Okay.
It's
all
all
right.
at the
Let's
end.
progress then. Go ahead.
Episode 3 is called "The Making at the Heart of the World," and basically, ensconced in the lap of luxury among the Grisha, Alina begins her training. The crows, Kaz, Inej, and Jesper prepare for a risky journey. So this is the episode where they actually go through
Okay.
the fold, and they have the goat. and
You know,
stuff
it's
like
funny. I'm thinking back on Alita's storyline, Alina, and I'm just like, I don't care.
No.
Nothing
There's
about
that
her
other
storyline.
Grisha girl who
The tailor.
is really mean to her
Oh, the-
because she was banging the Darkling and now he's cast her aside for
Yeah.
Alina.
She
because
also tried to
she's
bang
more
his boyfriend.
True. I don't think that they were
aware of that.
well, I don't think that they were a couple who doesn't bang other people.
Oh.
But I think
Oh.
that she is upset that she's now cast aside.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're also introduced to the tailor in this
Yeah.
episode.
She's
And
hot.
This is the Grisha that can
She's
like
supposed to be.
use
Yeah.
her powers to change people's like appearance.
Yeah.
and stuff.
I like her.
She's a big part of the books. Like,
Is she?
Yeah, she's a big part. Like she's basically Alina's best friend for most
Well,
of
because
that
you
book.
said Alina wants to be beautiful.
Yes.
'Kay.
Yeah. And it's weird because like again in the show, you remember her like, we might have to change your eyes because she's part shoe. Never happened in the
And
book.
how she wants to keep that one scar because it reminds her of Mal.
That was in the books.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that was in there. But
The
the
scars on her forehead, she keeps the whole show.
I said the same thing. I said the same
I
thing.
can't stop staring at
And
it.
Kadish was like, they're not that noticeable. And I was like,
Whoa.
well, I noticed them.
That's all I see.
Yeah.
you know what though? Like a
It's like a third eye. I can't miss that thing.
no. Okay, for
She's
me
deformed.
personally, when a girl, a beautiful woman, has like a little scar on there, I think it's cool.
Okay, I don't disagree with you, but in this world where they are making it a point to make it part of the storyline, where they're fixing her
Yeah.
imperfections, and the actress playing her has a scar, they should have filled that shit in
Yeah.
to make it flow with the story.
Yeah.
Little
I'm
putty.
not saying
And it-
her scars bother me because I think she's ugly. I'm saying it bothers me with the story.
Okay, because that would have actually been a really nice visual representation for when after she ran away, then the scar would come back
Yes.
because she would no longer have the tailor there to fix her up.
I mean,
Yes.
we all saw The Witcher. It's the exact same idea, right? Like we're going to enchant you to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the same concept. And they took a hunchback and made her the hottest chick in the world.
She's so hot.
Yennefer?
Yeah.
Oh.
I Googled her a lot.
Oh,
You know what? I did too.
that
Yeah.
one episode where she was like expelling demons or something?
Woo!
God damn.
I'm going to
Hell
tell you
yeah.
what, I knew her first and last name for a while.
We didn't have problems to remember those
And
characters.
she's got a weird name in real life, too. I knew that one, too.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Anyway, yeah, like the whole Alina storyline, it just kind of, like we talked about this a little bit already, like it just kind of happens to her. So there's no motivation for me to really attach myself because it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, things are happening.
Oh, she got in trouble again.
Yeah, it's like, okay, she's kind of like maneuvering her way through this upper society. Okay, I get it. It's not nearly as interesting as the other half of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm like super attached. And my favorite, like I kind of was talking about it already, but my favorite part of this whole freaking thing is when they're traveling in that train through the fold and Jasper's got that goat and he's freaking out and the thing's like breaking into the train. It's like ripping the doors open and starts screaming at him. And he just goes like, I'm going to save you. And he freaking pops open his 6-shooters and starts blowing things away. I was like, yes, it was such a great moment.
He loves the goat.
He loves the goat so much. That conductor was like, what's the goat for? It's for you. Like, it was so
Like,
perfect.
how do they know? How do they know that Jasper needed the
Because
goat?
he's the conductor.
There's a moment where he like looks at him when he's like telling them what they all need. He looks
Yeah.
at Jasper and he kind of gives him the
He gauges him.
Yeah.
and he's like, and we need a goat.
And we need to go. 16 pounds of coal and a goat.
Oh, they did 20 pounds.
Was it 20 pounds?
He
Oh,
only-
that's right.
He was only able to get 16
That's
because he
right.
lost all of his money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he almost died.
I only gambled some of it away.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was a good, this whole crew.
The whole crew's the best.
They're hilarious. They're
It's
awesome.
wacky hijinks, and
Yeah.
I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. And the main
But
dude.
they're badass. Like they're reluctantly accomplishing everything that they accomplish.
In
but
spite
they're
of
all-
themselves.
But they're also awesome. You
Yes.
got the brains, and
Yep.
you got the beauty, and you got like the gunslinger. And the beauty's also one of the baddest people in the whole show. They're
But
good.
she won't kill anyone. She's got like
Yet.
Yet.
yeah. She's got a vow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm sorry, you're going to have to remind me of the dude's name again. The main
Kaz.
Kaz. Why can I not remember that?
I don't know.
Kaz. Just the actor himself has such a very distinctive and interesting look to him.
Yeah.
Like he's very dark and brooding. The casting for that was freaking perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks like a young supervillain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's like a young
He's-
Lex Luthor.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna
Right?
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got something about
No,
him.
he's
man.
good. He's smart.
He's got that bony features.
He's crippled, but he's awesome. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
he makes it work.
Yeah.
He's got that Tyrion Lannister vibe going.
Oh,
He does
that's
have a
what
Tyrion
it is.
Lannister vibe.
That's what it is. It's got that. He's got that badass.
I-
Don't mess with me vibe.
Between the casting, the costumes, and the sets, the show is impressive.
Mhm.
Like the casting is good. The costumes are unbelievable, and the sets are, unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really pretty. The
Yeah.
whole show
And
is.
speaking of his like limp, there's a whole backstory there that they don't really talk
Oh.
about in the show.
Ooh.
I mean, Kadish is the one that told me about it.
Yeah, because he's not in the main book at
Yeah.
all.
No.
There's
So-
like a disease. Tell it. I can't tell it.
Did he have magic polio?
I think yeah, right.
He's got a little
There's
FDR
like a
in him.
disease.
Are you holding back for a reason?
No,
Why aren't you talking?
I'm trying to remember what I told
Okay.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you make that shit up?
I didn't make it up. There's like a
He was just riffing.
And I ate it all up. I'm such a fool.
there's like a bone disease that the author has that
Yes.
she gave to that character, which is why he has a hard time walking around and
Oh,
stuff
okay.
like that.
Bird bones.
All right. So what happens in the next episode?
Well, we didn't even talk about Alina's training. So she meets the
Mean Grisha
the mean lady who's also
kicks her ass.
also the Darkling's mother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she's cool. I like that. I like that character.
Yeah, and,
Scary old witch in the cave.
Yeah.
yeah, and so she I think that she's presented to the king, and the king is like, you know,
Boy, the king sucks, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You guys think he sucks because in the book he's even worse.
Really?
wow.
Yeah, like they actually like manlied up him in the show. Like when you see him, he's just kind of like this barrel-chested big dude with a goatee. In the book, he's like this weaselly little like too many inbreed family things.
Oh.
Like a big snout, kind of hunched over, real weak person, and everybody kind of thinks he's a joke. And I was surprised when I saw him in the show, and I'm like, oh, that dude looks like a normal, you know, kingly dude.
In the book, was he forcing the I forget what her name is, the girl that fixes the scars and stuff? Was he forcing her in the book?
To do the job. Yeah, she was still kind of like a slave. But he, you know, the king himself.
No, it was suggested in the show that he was boinking her.
He was like raping her. He was like
Oh.
forcing her to come to his room and stuff.
I can't.
And that's why the queen was obsessed with like beauty and stuff, because she wanted the king's attention.
Yeah, that most of that stuff with the queen, that kind of was in the book. I don't remember specifically if they mentioned that she was like being forced to do anything sexual.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I could have just missed that.
But
I missed that from the show as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
The old lady Bagra, that's her name.
Bagra.
So like she's the one who's kind of helping Alina to figure out her powers, and Alina.
And we don't know that it's Kiergan's mother at first, do we?
Not at first.
No, not till the
Okay.
end.
Yeah, not
And
yet.
then she's kind of telling Alina like you should be careful of him, and you should go on your own and like develop your own strength, and which is what we also wanted for her, instead of just like relying on him to give you
Mhm.
worth.
Yeah.
You don't need no man, honey.
Mhm. And she's like, no, but I really want a boyfriend.
Yeah. Alina keeps writing to Mal, and he doesn't respond, so she thinks that he's ignoring her.
Yeah. They
So
both
she
do.
hooks up with
Well,
dark guy.
That's the Darkling's whole thing, is they know that Mal's writing letters to her, and they know that she's writing letters to Mal, and they just disconnect the two because they're trying to separate her away from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
General Kerrigan.
It's a dentist system.
Has a plan to kind of put
Textbook brainwashing.
Alina under his spell.
Yeah.
Basically,
It works too.
Mhm.
And she's
Well,
Even-
legitimately.
there's
she falls right for it.
Dude, there's even a moment in the book where she already knows that he's the bad guy. She knows everything's been uncovered. She knows the truth, and he still comes close to her. And in the book, it's described. She says, like, I was so angry at myself with how much I love the way it felt to be close to him, even though I knew all these terrible things. I'm like, girl, you need to check yourself.
She's so torn.
She's so messed up.
Well,
sounds like every girl I ever dated.
it could also be that thing, whereas because they're like a dyad, I
Mm.
guess you could say.
Yeah.
Dark and light, that they're attracted to one another naturally.
Okay.
And so like I guess you could write it off as that. I don't know if that's how they do it in the books. Or
Two
whatever.
sides of a coin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
something like
possible. That's a possible excuse for it. All right. What happens next, Kadish?
All right. So episode 4 is called Otkaztezia. Octazizia? So, some weird name.
Okay.
Octogenarian? Is it octogenarian?
We'll just go with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Episode 4 is called Octogenarian. And as Kerrigan takes Alina into his confidence, Mal volunteers for a dangerous tracking mission, and the Crows plot a heist to get into the Little Palace. And the Little Palace is where all the Grisha are trained, and that's where Alina is basically staying. And I guess we kind of, moved over this pretty quickly, but in the first episode, the Crows, basically their mission is to go and kidnap Alina and bring her back to this wealthy merchant in their home
So
city.
yeah, their whole purpose in this season is to get to Alina and take her back to West Ravka.
That's the payday. That's the
That's the $1 million payday.
That's the assassin's escape from bondage.
Yep.
It's everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's everything kind of leans on Alina, which I actually think is an improvement on the story myself.
Kaz puts his bar up as collateral.
Yeah.
So there's a lot riding on. There's a
Yeah.
lot riding on.
Again, we go back to the crows and we're like, these guys are way cooler.
Yeah.
They're really cool. They're really
Yeah,
fun.
the only thing that makes Alina interesting is that Kaz wants her.
Yeah.
And Mal, so Mal has this uncanny ability to like track anything.
Mhm.
Like he's just like, I think he's almost got like some type of like superpower where he's just able to like track anything down. And we learned in the previous episode that the very first Grisha created these animals from his own bones. I think it was called like the Bone Master or something like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
And basically these animals are amplifiers, and if you can kill one of these animals and absorb their bones into yourself, it can
Amplify your powers.
like take your powers to the next level.
Yeah.
And so basically Kerrigan is seeking these animals so he can amplify his power and Alina's. And it goes out to the first army that, you know, people want to track down this mythical creature, the stag, which Alina's been having visions of. And so in order to finally get entry into the little palace and see Alina again, Mal agrees to take what everyone thinks is just like a joke of a mission to go and find this thing.
And he knows it's real because Alina has been drawing pictures of it based on her visions.
Yeah.
So he
kind of has like a gut, like,
yeah,
okay.
he knows that this is real and that she's somehow tied to it.
Yeah, because everybody else thinks it's a myth. It's like somebody saying, okay, I'm going to charge your squad with going after Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like, well, shit.
I
Okay.
saw that movie.
Me too.
It didn't make any sense either.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a nonsense, like almost a suicide mission, because the places that they had to go to do this were very dangerous. So Mao was like, look, this is my only chance. He had a gut feeling that it was real. And if anybody's going to find it, it was going to be him so that he could see Alina again. Which, again, once they kind of introduce these amplifiers into the equation, I find the Grisha a little bit more interesting. I'm kind of getting more into their story and kind of figuring out their magical abilities and stuff. It was cool, but again, it was kind of like something that just happened to her. It wasn't something that she was actively trying to work towards.
Yeah,
it was just kind of like,
we're coming up on where the story is going to start to lose me.
oh, okay.
But so Mal and his friends finally track this thing down, and as they are about to capture it, they're attacked by the Fedoran.
Those are the witch hunter guys.
Yeah. Basically the Vikings.
Yes.
Yeah, but it does.
Wildlings.
It starts with an F, right? What's the actual name for them?
Fedoran.
Fedorans?
I think.
Fedoras?
No, not fedoras.
We're going to change the name of everything.
Yeah, we are going to butcher this, guys.
The witch hunters. We call them witch hunters.
Sure.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is the race of people who live to the north, and they're the ones who mistrust the Grisha, and they hunt them down and kill them. And they were the ones who kind of ambushed Alina.
That's not fair. They put them on trial first.
That's true.
They did make that very clear.
And then they burned them.
And we also kind of skipped over Nina, who I think came in with the third episode. And she's like this heart renderer who's like a spy for Kerrigan, but she works with the Crow crew or something like that.
Well, she was one of the people that the conductor had smuggled out of Ravka into West Ravka, and she's been living her life over there.
And she gets captured by one of these Fedorans.
Witch hunters.
And basically, she has her own kind of story going on where they're trying to transport her back to the homeland so she can be put on trial.
We can probably just polish off her whole story because it's a very small story that's spaced out over half the season.
Yes.
Where basically she gets kidnapped by these people. She gets put on a ship. They're taking her back to her homeland so they can put her on trial and then kill her for being a witch. And, the ship crashes. They end up kind of like being forced to work together so that they can survive. And a love relationship starts to build. And then
they save each other.
They save each other's lives. They begin becoming friends and things like that.
She speeds up his heart so that he doesn't freeze to
death.
death.
Yeah, it's like a Romeo and Juliet type thing where they're not supposed to be in love with each other, but they end up being
more like a Taming of the Shrew type thing because they don't like each other at first. They don't trust each other, and then over time they kind of reluctantly kind of fall for one another.
I don't think they ever actually start liking each other, but they do fall in love.
They did both get naked, and they both said, that looks nice.
Yeah.
So they did love each other for a night.
I wouldn't have minded spending the night in that whaler's hut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the fur and
she has abilities. I don't know what she can do.
she can make your heart race.
Ooh, sometimes it doesn't even beat at all. I mean,
I did like that one.
Don't need Viagra with her.
no,
not
get
at
me
all.
going, baby.
Yeah.
Get that
Like-
blood pumping.
Yeah.
But like at a certain point, they've kind of come to accept that they like each other,
Yeah.
and they're in an inn. They're trying to make their way to his homeland, I think, and her Grisha crew Kerrigan's Grisha crew kind of catch up with her, and in order to save his life, she turns him in for
As a slaver.
and
But
so
I'm helping.
Yeah.
yeah, so he thinks that she's
Betrayed him.
Yes.
and now like it's reversed from when they first met, because he's on a ship that as a prisoner, and she's the one looking after him, whereas that role was reversed earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be bad timing, but whatever happens to that storyline? Because I do not remember.
It just ends right
It
there.
just ends right there,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Yeah.
a cliffhanger.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
It was a whole side quest going on that was interesting.
It
took-
was
It's
interesting.
a setup for season 2.
Yeah, basically. We're going to catch up with them later.
Damn, we don't even know if there's a season 2. Is there a season 2?
We haven't announced
You
it yet.
see?
Netflix is notorious
That's
for
why I
canceling
didn't watch
shows.
Jupiter's
I
Legacy.
know.
I knew that crap was getting canceled.
So anyway, we'll continue, Kadish. We gotta get moving.
All right, so episode 5 is called Show Me Who You Are, and this is where Alina bonds with Kerrigan, and the guests attend their presentation ceremony. Mal communicates news about the deer, and Kaz's plans hinge on a hidden door. So we forgot to mention that in the previous episode, Kerrigan and Alina kind of go to this fountain, and Kerrigan fills her in on the history
Mhm.
of his quote-unquote ancestor who
Mhm.
created the fold. And so we get some backstory about this stuff.
How
that-
the fold
how the fold
Came
came,
to be.
about.
came
yeah.
about. Yeah.
And,
You know
and
that
Ker-
that's
Kerrigan
right.
comes off as like a really noble guy, because like he's tortured that he can't do anything about it, and that people blame him for his ancestors' like faults and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Turns out that was all him.
yeah,
Lies.
but Alina's like falling for it.
Lies, deception, every day more lies.
Yes. and so in this episode, Alina is kind of like fully like she's forgotten about Mal. She's totally into Kerrigan, and this is where Kerrigan's going to present her to the court, and it's her big like kind of coming out party, and this is where the Crow crew shows up to try to whisk her away, and it turns out that the conductor isn't quite the nice guy we all thought.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that was
He's
the
a-
best scene in the whole show,
He's
right
a double
there.
crosser.
Mhm.
When he kills the double, and I'm like, they just killed her. And I was watching it with a friend, and I'm like, they just killed her. And I'm like, they killed who? I'm like, the chick, the girl. She's dead. She's bleeding out, man.
But then it turns out that wasn't Alina
Yeah.
after all. That was the what's her name? She
Oh, the Taylor.
Taylor, thank you. Yes.
Well, her name's not Taylor. She is
But
titled the Taylor.
I was like seamstress.
Yeah.
But this is the episode where kind of like the Crow storyline intersects with Alina,
Yes.
and Mal shows up because he's delivering the news about the stag to Kerrigan, and
Just the
But-
worlds collide.
yeah,
right here,
yeah,
man.
all the storylines converge in this
Mhm.
episode, and Bagra kind of tells Alina the truth about Kerrigan and encourages her to escape. And she just happens to like get in the same coach that Kaz
Yeah.
had for his
She
getaway.
runs away and
It's-
hops in the back of a coach, and the crows are just like, did she just get in the back of our coach?
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, this episode was so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just sat like smoking a cigarette, like, wait, isn't that she's getting in the carriage. She locked herself in the boot.
I guess we'll go.
Yeah, I guess we're good now.
Guys,
Because
let's go.
they went through this whole facade of like joining the circus or something because they were
Uh-huh.
going to perform at the palace, and they were like figuring out their backstories and how to get in and how to be sly, and it all just kind of ends and like Alina just jumps in the cab with them, and they're like, oh, well, that was cool.
Yeah, easy breezy.
Yeah. And I forget if it was this episode or the episode after this one where Jesper has his fight with the Heartrender, and he keeps shooting. So like the Grisha have like these
Oh, like-
bulletproof like cloaks that they wear,
Yeah.
and he keeps shooting him in the same spot, and eventually like the bullet wears down on the bulletproof cloth,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts hurting the guy. And Jasper's just such a good shot that he's like ricocheting these bullets and hitting him, point blank in the
Yeah.
exact same spot.
Yeah, it was a
It's
pretty dope
cool.
scene. It was a really cool scene. And then he gets him down, and then he shoots him in the head. Right? It goes it goes dark.
Jasper kills all those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think Jasper killed any of them.
He shot one of those dudes.
No,
right in the
oh no,
head.
that's right. He punched him in the face.
I
I
th-
think he knocked him out.
I don't know. I think he shot one of those guys right in the head.
It's possible. I'd have to go back and watch.
Jasper's pretty badass.
He is a badass.
Never
He's pretty
misses.
badass.
We know that Inej ends up killing someone, but she did it
Yes.
to save Kaz.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
she's very torn over it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, she loves him, but she can't kill. She's a vow.
I don't know, dude. That kill that she does have at the end of the season was dope.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
good. Yeah. All right, Kadish.
Also, don't you think? At first, when I saw this, I didn't know anything about like the people playing these characters. And when I first saw Cass, I was like, "Is he a Skarsgård? He gives me so many
he a-
Skarsgård guy.
You know what? Someone said,
vibes.
they were like, "Is that the same guy that played it?"
Yes.
Yeah,
He,
and I was like,
he
"It's
looks,
not."
He
But
looks
he's
like a
got that same,
Skarsgård.
that like, yeah, that's very much same weird
Oh, okay.
Yes.
rubber
That
face.
bone
Yeah,
structure.
that-
yeah.
Rubber face.
Yeah, when they have the lines and everything's moving all the time.
You
Okay.
mean like bone structure, contour?
Well, some people have a lot more bones than other people. All right, Jude.
Some people have a lot more other stuff than bones.
Yeah, and skin.
You guys are so weird.
Some of this.
Would you say that they have shadow and bone?
Whoa!
Oh!
Is that where they got the name? That guy's face?
We're so silly.
Please continue.
All right, so episode 6 is called "The Heart Is an Arrow," and basically, furious over the Sun Summoner escaping, Kerrigan hunts for information. Alina receives a helping hand when she needs it most, and Nina warms to the Grisha hunter. So basically, in this episode, Alina's on the run. The crows kind of confront her, and they're like, "You're ours now," and she's like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, okay." And so like she goes off without them, and she meets up with Mal, who comes to save her.
Yes.
And we have that reunion finally, where like those two get back together, and they kind of realize that they're into each
And
other.
they're like, "How come you didn't write me? I did. How come you didn't write me?
Yeah.
I did. Oh, okay."
Yeah, and this is just to give you guys some background. Like, this is several chapters in the book where it's just her and Mal trying to survive out in the wilderness. That's all it is for like 2 chapters, 2.5 chapters.
I'm always interested to know, like, when there's source material, I want to know what the differences are. So I'm glad that you read that because
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah. Again, not 90%, probably 50% of this show is not in the first book. It's like the entire thing is just Alina going from army to Darkling to escaping, and that's it. That's where it ends.
So my buddy read all the books, and he said this one it's mostly the first book, but then there's stuff from book 2 and book 3
Yeah.
that they put into this one to make the series make sense.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's fair for storytelling.
Yeah, I can
And then he
get
says
it.
the crows, they don't even exist. And I'm like, how? Well, what even happens in the book then?
Jasper and his crew don't exist in the books?
Well, they're in.
You read the first one, they're not in it, right?
Yeah, they're not there.
Well, read the second one. They're not in that one either.
they're in a different series. You
it's
said.
different
Exactly.
series.
So there's the Grisha Trilogy, which is Alina's story.
Exactly.
And then there's the Crow duology,
Which is a completely separate thing, but in the same universe.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to go read those books.
Yeah.
Those books sound great.
Same
Yeah.
universe, same stuff going on at the same time, but it's like 2 separate things happening
Okay.
at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So this is the episode where Kerrigan and his army of Grishas are trying to track Alina down, and the crows are kind of like in her vicinity, and they all fight with these Grishas. And so Inej fights with the sister of the Grisha that she killed to save Kaz, and she ends up killing her again. So that's 2 body counts on Inej. I believe that the conductor is killed when Kerrigan interrogates him.
Yeah, he dies. I think
Okay.
a heart render kills him,
Oh,
right?
yeah. That was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it turns out that the conductor was kind of part of this revolutionary movement.
Yes.
So, like, if you know anything about Tsarist Russia and how like they were overthrown, the Bolshevik revolution, I think it was. So he's part of the communist who want to overthrow. Like,
yeah,
the
they don't
Roman
want the wall to come down.
Yeah.
They don't want the.
Yeah, they like the
full-
wall.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
They like the wall.
because it gives them their freedom from.
Yeah, it cuts them off from the kingdom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they want to start their own like empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have the votes. They have the votes.
Yeah. So basically, the crows kind of clash with the Grisha army. There's this great scene where Kaz kind of has a face off with Kerrigan, and he kind of like just tricks him into trying to kill him, but then he like vanishes.
Mm.
And then Mal and Alina, in one of the quickest traveling I think I've seen in the show, like, they go up, they find the stag. beast.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to kill it to amplify her power so she can fight Kerrigan. But Alina, you know, when she finally meets the beast, like she's like, there's got to be another way to do this. And then Kerrigan shows up and just like kills,
slices its head off.
stag, yeah.
It was pretty intense, and that's straight from the book. Like it happens exactly that way. Like events leading to that are a lot different, but that scene where the Darkling shows up and the stag is there and he kills the stag and he takes the thing. And there was something interesting too in the book when they take the antlers off of the stag and they turn it into an amplifier for her. In the book, it's just described as a collar. They just call it another tailor.
Yeah, it's like a necklace.
Came and put a collar on her, and in the freaking show,
It's awesome.
they like bone grafted the antlers into her collarbone. It was dope. I was like,
dope.
God damn, that's an improvement. I will say that much.
Okay.
I thought that was really freaking cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too.
Because when they show it and it's like sticking out of her skin and there's like nothing she can do about it, I'm like, God
That
dang,
made me
dude.
uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was very uncomfortable.
Oh, it was
But
disturbing
so
to watch.
awesome. He was like inside of her.
Whoa.
That is some intensity, bro.
Yes. He put his bones inside of her. She'll never forget.
Now I'm into it.
Yeah, think about it. A lot of innuendo.
a lot of sexual tension going
Yeah.
on.
So I've been waiting a while to mention this. How many times does Mao almost die in the show? There's
Oh, a
8
bunch.
episodes. I think he almost dies 4 times. I mean, like
Yeah.
dead.
It's episode 1.
Episode 1, episode
Episode
3,
3.
the stag.
This one that we're in right now.
And I think it happens one more time.
Yeah, at the end.
It's like 4 times.
He's a tough dude.
yeah.
yeah.
Like
no, it's a shoulder shot. Always on the shoulder,
Yeah.
but it takes him out. And then they heal him instantly.
Well,
Or a leg wound.
They have to give Anita something to like in amplify her power. It's like the a thing with the X-Men, like
Oh, I
in
like
those
the
times of
antlers.
stress.
Oh, I want the antlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
But it was
cool.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. He is kind of like the whole reason why she can stand up for herself at some point.
She stands up for him.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Is like she's always rescuing him. That's
Yeah.
her whole character.
That's the whole character.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's all it is.
And
This is when the show has lost me.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
How come?
This is when it gets fun.
Well, because like she was about to like mind meld with the stag, and she has now learned how to control her powers. And I felt like this was like a moment where she could like stand up to bad guy, and he just is like, "You're mine now." And now she's just being controlled by him, and now he has control of her powers. I was just like, bullshit.
No, because instead of her killing, so the whole, I'm going to have to go back and explain this a little bit, but the amplifier thing, like the amplifier thing only works if you are the one who kills the animal and takes the bone. So because he was the one who killed the stag, he has access to her power through the stag. And when he takes the amplifier bone and he puts it in her, he now has control of
Well,
it.
he bonded himself to it.
Yeah,
right?
and
So,
he had the little bone thing.
yeah, he bonded
I'm not
himself.
sure if that's in the book. I think it was more of a mental thing. I don't think there was a physical
because
representation.
that's what I
for
went
it.
with. I went with the bones are inside of her and intact. The bones are in him.
Yeah,
But it's his kill.
yeah.
So he had. I mean, she still had some control, but he had full control.
Well,
Because she could still do stuff. She still could manipulate and make light and all that. But he had.
yeah, it was
The control.
in the book. It's described as like he was just inside her head, and she couldn't not do what he wanted her to do.
Those bad boys, boy. Let me
Just
tell
bad,
you.
they get inside your head, man.
They get inside your
so
head.
all this stuff about like, you know, the bones melding into Alina and stuff like that happens in episode 7, which is the Unsee. And basically, you know, this is kind of like a lead up to the finale where, you know, Alina gets the bones grafted into her, and the Crow crew, they're basically like, well, this was a big waste of time and money. We're going to cut our losses and go back. And so they're trying to figure out a way to sneak on the ship that Kerrigan is going to use in order to get back to Ketterdam.
They forged documents. They got outfits, everything.
Yeah.
And
They're like, nobody can see me.
and the funny thing is that so Mal, like, he's being held captive in one of the tents, and when they had gotten there, the Crow crew had given away their goat to you know, just like some local farmer, but Jasper had tied a little bullet as a remembrance of the goat to the goat's neck, and Mal sees this goat with a bullet around his neck, and he uses that bullet to destroy his cuffs so he can escape. And Mal also sneaks aboard the ship in order to save Alina. And so
This ship has a lot of hiding places.
Yeah, really. It's not like when you look at the ship in the show, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but
Yeah, I feel like it's the size of the room we're in.
they managed
Like,
to get in
seriously.
there and like hunker down somewhere and hide, and nobody knows they're there.
They're like ninjas
Yeah.
from last week, just like hiding in a corner.
but the ship is supposed to be like a big event for like the powerful and the rich, because Kerrigan is going to have the Sun Summoner start destroying the fold, and all the elite want to be there to witness this historic thing. And so the end of this episode has all of our characters kind of like aboard this ship going into the fold, and that leads us
the Titanic.
And the Darkling is kind of using this time because he has all these rich and wealthy people. He's basically taking advantage of that fact and blackmailing them into going under his control. He's like, there's going to be no more wars. Nothing else is going to happen unless it goes through me. I am now the leader. Like, this is the whole thing. This whole reason for the show being is so that he can gain more power and become basically the king of
And
this
if you
land.
don't do what I say, I'm going to leave you here. You're going to turn into a Volcra,
Yeah.
which turns out all of the people that were in this town when the fold came up, those used to be humans.
Yeah, and they turned into
but
demons.
now they're demons. Yeah.
so all this leads into episode 8, which is called No Mourners.
This is the last episode,
This
right?
is the last
Yeah.
episode of the season, and basically this is where Kerrigan's plan kind of comes to fruition, and he's using Alina's powers to help actually expand the fold. Because
Another double cross.
and we get kind of like a look into Kerrigan's backstory, where we see like his wife and unborn child murdered by the army of the king or something.
Yeah,
like that.
basically because he was Grisha, they went after him. Like, this was what he's kind of like Magneto, where like the world.
He's a bit Magneto.
Yeah, he's a bit of a Magneto. Like,
gotcha.
the world hates the Grisha because they're different, but they have superpowers, and he wants to protect the Grisha against the normal humans. And he's very much a Magneto.
That's his
character.
whole thing. You're right. The Magneto. I didn't even catch it.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kerrigan is actually like hundreds of years old. Like, he doesn't age.
Yeah.
And he was the guy who created the fold to begin with, and so he just takes on these different personas as like people grow old and
That's
die.
actually a common trait among Grisha. The more powerful of a Grisha you are, the longer your lifespan is.
Because I was going to ask, who's eternal? Because him and his mother are eternal.
Yeah, because they have the power of the darkness.
And the Sun Summoners, they tell her she's eternal as well.
She can be.
Well, one of
Is
the
that
cool
what it
one of
is?
the cool scenes in this season was when Kerrigan kind of sits down with Mal. And he's basically like, I don't need to compete with you. I just need to wait for you to die. Like, time is on my side. I'm immortal. She's immortal. In a couple, in 50 years, you're going to be a non-factor, and I can just wait you out.
Yeah.
It was kind of an interesting.
She'll forget. It'll be okay.
Oh, and even like when she was like, I'm going to hate you forever. And he's like, hate fades over time. You'll be all right.
His didn't.
That's a good point.
Well, no, he's a man with a plan. It's different.
Yeah.
He's a man with a plan.
But so basically, in the big climax, everything kind of comes to a head where after Kerrigan expands the fold, it encompasses the city that belonged to that girl, that Grisha girl that, throughout the season, she's been kind of Alina's foil. And she wanted Kerrigan to be in love with her and stuff like that. And so her entire family's killed, and she flips sides and she starts helping the Crows and Alina and Mal to fight against Kerrigan. And there's like a big kind of like fist fight between Kerrigan and Mal, like on the Unsea, and Alina uses her powers to basically push the fold back. But at the end of the day, so it looks like Kerrigan's dead and they're all on the other side of the fold. And the Crow crew basically decides to go their separate ways. And Alina and Mal decide to, I guess, I don't know.
They walk off into the sunset.
Yeah, they walk off into the sunset. They
they want to search for a way to actually destroy the fold. And so, but they don't know where to start.
Yeah, they basically in the book there's like a little what's it called, an epilogue? Yeah. The epilogue of the book is like they go off and they kind of live their life for a few years, and they're just together.
Let's just take like a little break.
Yeah, we're gonna take the summer off.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen in the show. So the show basically ends with everyone on board this ship that I think is bound for Ketterdam. So the Crows are there, and they're kind of thinking that they have a heist in mind that they need a heart renderer for.
Mm-hmm.
And Nina's on this ship that's transporting the guy that she loves.
God, that's the most convenient ship on the history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and she overhears the crow crew.
There's like only one ship
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
She overhears the crow crew talking about how they need a heart renderer. So like those finally converge. And Nina and Mal are also on the ship because they need to find a way to, figure out how to, go somewhere to figure out how to take the fold down. And then after they all sail off together, Kerrigan emerges from the fold with an army of Volcra.
Yeah,
behind
and now
him.
he has control of these creatures that I guess until this point he didn't know he was able to control them. But
And I also think that they didn't know that they could exist outside the fold.
yeah, yeah, they walk out and they're all kind of like shrouded and
Like smoky.
yeah, yeah.
You don't really know what they are.
It's pretty badass.
Oh,
it
no,
was
it was
pretty cool.
The last moment, that moment was, it made you go, oh shit, White Walkers. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes, here we go. Here
You're
we
right.
go.
You're right.
Here we go.
Yeah, so it just depends on how many. And I'm assuming he can
Dark
turn
walkers.
other people into those things.
Yes, he can.
Because those were originally human beings and now they're
Yes.
monsters. So I'm assuming that he would be able to put that
Well,
on other
he knows
people.
how to create now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows how to create. So he can create.
Yes.
Yeah.
So honestly, man, like I know this Alina's storyline is a bit of a slow starter for me, but the crows were badass.
Yeah.
I'm hooked on that. I think
Say Crow Crew.
Crow Crew.
Just sounds good.
Nice.
Crow Crew.
Hashtag Crow Crew.
Hashtag Crow Crew.
Just say it.
So
Sounds
wait,
good.
when he walked out, wasn't he kind of taking the fold with him? Like where he goes,
Yes.
the fold
It
goes
was
with
yeah,
him?
it was a little bit of a smoky effect to him. Yeah, like he was bringing it with him. I think in order to survive against the Valkyrie, what are they called?
Volcron.
Volcron?
No, Volcar.
Voltron.
Volcar?
Voltron?
Voltron?
Voltron.
God,
Anyway.
guys.
I know we're so terrible. In order to like survive being in that atmosphere, he had to learn how to control it. And now he's a step above.
Was that in the
everybody
book?
else. No, I don't think it was. I think
Okay.
what had happened is they left him behind in the fold, and in Alina's inner monologue, she's like, "I think he's dead, but in reality, there's
You-
no
you know
no
he's
way of
not.
knowing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you kind of know he's not.
Okay.
Like
Like, no, he's not.
yeah,
You
You
probably
don't-
find
you-
out in the next
The
book.
Yeah,
dark,
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the darkness can't kill the darkling.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
There's no way.
something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
he created it. He couldn't die from it.
But honestly, like the show was fun. It was a bit young adult for me. There was a lot of slow moments. Alina's was the least interesting, but the rest of it made up for that
I totally agree with you.
because it was so much fun to watch this crew.
Like he was like, "Is it?" Because I was trying to talk Tom into watching it, and he's like, "Was it good?" And I was like, "It's not bad."
So let's do this now that we kind of polished off the season. Tom, are you invested enough to check out season 2 if you weren't doing the podcast?
If the Crow Crew was in the books of this same, allegedly the show we're watching,
Yeah.
I'd read the books because I'm interested. So
Okay.
yeah, I want
So-
to keep watching it. It's
So you're gonna go you're gonna go listen or read Six of Crows then.
maybe, but,
Okay.
but probably not because I would like to hear the real thing because I feel like it's too much different stuff. So I'm good with the show.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, I like the world building that we're in. I like the universe. I think it's very interesting with a lot of potential. I like the potential. The storyline of this one, it had its moments of greatness and moments of boredom, but nothing bad.
Okay.
I like the characters. I like most of it for the most part. I'm in. I'm
Okay.
in.
Cool.
I'll keep watching. I like it.
Jude, how about you? Are you sold on this franchise? You're gonna jump in?
So I'm gonna watch season 2, and what I'm comparing it to is, you guys know how much I love the Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Yep.
series. Seasons 1 and 2 are arguably the least good
Right.
Okay.
seasons, but it's my favorite show of all time, and I watch it again and again every single year, and I cry every single time.
It's amazing.
And I think that this has the potential, kind of like that. Like this season was kind of weak for me, but I feel like it could be so good.
right there with you.
I'm really interested to know what the differences are with the books. I don't know that I'm going to have time to read them, but I love like when there's like something interesting, like a series made out of an interesting series.
Mhm.
I love that shit. So I'm hoping for more for next season. I didn't hate this at all. I don't think it didn't blow me away, and I didn't think it was great, and I wasn't like super excited to watch it like I get with some shows, but I'm hopeful for next season. There were aspects of it that were really good, but there were also aspects of it that I found a little dull and boring.
Okay. Katie, how about you, bud?
So I compare this to some of the other entries that Netflix has made with adapting some cool young adult material into a TV show. So talking about Warrior Nun,
Oh God, that's terrible.
talking about Cursed.
Oh,
I couldn't even finish that.
this is way leaps and
Yeah.
bounds better than those two
Yeah, I
shows.
started Cursed. It did not go anywhere.
It's not good.
No, it didn't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah. So like those are examples of how Netflix can take something with some cool source material and just run it into the ground. And with this, I feel like the source material seems pretty good, and the people making the show seem to be honoring that. Even though they've made changes to it, I feel like the changes worked within the context of what they were trying to achieve with the show. And I like a lot of the characters. So I would definitely check out a season 2. I enjoyed this season. So yeah, like I just think it could have been much worse knowing that.
For sure.
Yeah, when you put it in that perspective, I didn't even really think of it like that. But yeah, Warrior Nun, awful. Curse.
God, so did you watch that?
You told me not to.
I stand by it.
It's called Warrior Nun. Of course I was going to watch it.
It's so bad. So like in that perspective, this show is leaps and bounds better. It's actually got a really good leg up on those ones. I'm definitely going to be checking out the other books for sure.
Okay.
Definitely Six of Crows.
Mhm.
And I think a few comments in our YouTube channel have actually been pointing us that direction. Like, you have to go read this, Six of Crows book.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my next entry. I'm not really going to follow Alina's storyline until I'm done with the other ones, because
Yeah.
it sounds like those ones are more up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
The hijinks and the scheming and the cool underground kind of like criminal underworld of this
Yeah.
not galaxy.
And you
but-
know what else? A lot of people, when we did the trailer reaction, they were in the comments saying, because I think when we originally watched the trailer, we all thought like, oh, they're giving us too much information, and a lot of people were like, no, because and I really appreciate like that kind of feedback. Like, the story does this, and they only gave you this, and
Yeah.
like I like that stuff. So definitely like pop in the comments and tell us like what we got wrong, and give us advice if there's something we should check out like in this world. I want to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let us know
I
in the
wanna
comments.
know.
Yeah,
I like
and,
it.
And for me, because I read The Shadow and Bone, the first book, so take me in the direction. Which way should I go?
Yes.
Six of Crows, or should I finish Alina's stuff? Let me know. Okay, that's it. Everybody good with our discussion? Cool. All right, you guys can let us know how badly we butchered all the names in the comments.
Oh God, I'm really
God.
sorry.
Really
And
bad.
all
man.
the stuff that we skipped over and forgot to talk
Yeah,
about.
There was a lot of gray in the middle. It was a lot of mud you had to walk through.
Like I said,
Yeah.
they took what I think would probably be like maybe 2-3 episodes tops, and they stretched it over 8 episodes, and they just plopped a bunch of stuff in the middle of it. For as far as Alina,
You know what? If this had only been about Alina, I don't know that I would have
I
finished
wouldn't,
it.
yeah.
I couldn't have watched
yeah,
it.
if they had adapted the book strictly and put it into the show, I don't think any of you guys would like it.
Yeah.
It's not very action oriented. It's very slow paced and kind
I
of.
wanted the pirates. I
Yeah.
like those guys.
Yeah.
It makes it more. I'm gonna say it butches the show up a little bit.
Yeah, with the gay gunslinger.
He was just a gunslinger, bro. He was just dope. You know,
He was pretty badass.
He got laid along the way.
The Crow Crew
that-
saved
That
this
guy was
for
pretty
me.
sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
He was sweet. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
Sexual orientation aside, the guy was cool. They
He
were a cool
loves
crew.
goats.
He loves goats. Who doesn't love a goat?
Kind of made me want to go.
It kind of made me want to goat too. I was like, I see why they do goat yoga now.
You
I
want
see
to
it.
adopt a goat together? It can live at your house.
No, I don't have enough grass.
I will say this of my final thought. I have to compare this to another show in, I think, a very similar vein is Carnival Row.
Yes.
I think Carnival Row is a stronger TV show.
Well, it was more adult.
Very much
This
more
is
adult.
definitely
This
more
is
young adult.
Yeah, it's aimed at a little bit of a younger audience. But I still think Carnival Row, if they kind of amp this up and they get it to that same level, we're going to be on good ground. But that's it. All right, guys, where can we find everybody on the socials? Tom, where can they find you at?
Hard to find, but if you want to find me, it's on Instagram called Big T2681.
Food pics.
Mostly food pics, things that I find strange in my environment. You know, that's about it. Look me up.
All right.
You can find him in the at the bowling alley usually.
Nobody wants to go bowling with me, so no, you won't.
Hit him up and ask him to go bowling. He'll show up.
Or golf. I've been golfing a lot.
You've been golfing a lot.
lately.
Golf?
Oh, bro. You don't even know
Oh, no.
how bad I am at, at drinking and,
And
playing
hitting
golf.
tiny little balls.
Oh, my God. Actually, we'll talk about this another day.
Okay. Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, or like in a bar with Tom somewhere.
There
Yeah.
you go. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish, on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page.
And I'm Alex, your host. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. And as always, stay salty, my friends.